All right, get ready for a bit of a mind bender. Today, we're jumping into Bertrand Russell's pretty radical take on what a mind even is. He basically tries to tear down our whole concept of it and then rebuild it from scratch. And trust me, this is a journey that's going to challenge the very idea of who or maybe what you are. So, let's just dive right in with a big question that sits at the heart of all this. We talk about my mind, like it's a box we own, right? A container where we keep all our thoughts and memories. But what if that's just completely wrong? What if your mind isn't a thing you have, but something else entirely? And look, Russell wasn't some lone wolf here. He was actually building on the ideas of the philosopher William James, who argued that this central thing we call consciousness, it might just be a phantom. The idea here is that for centuries we've been chasing a ghost, and maybe, just maybe, it's time to call off the search. Okay, so if consciousness really is a phantom, how do you even begin to prove it doesn't exist? Well, Russell starts by attacking the very foundation of how we talk about thinking, the I. Think about that famous phrase, I think. It seems so simple, right? It implies there's a subject, an I, and that I is performing an action, thinking. But Russell says, hang on, this is just a trick of our grammar. When you actually go looking for this I, this thinker behind the thought, you can't find it. He calls it the ghost of the soul, basically a leftover religious idea that's hiding in the way we speak. And this is his brilliant analogy. We don't say, I am raining. That sounds crazy. We say, it is raining. Russell argues we should see our thoughts in the exact same way. A thought isn't something I do. It's an event that just happens. It's a process that occurs in me, much like weather. So if there's no I doing the thinking, then what's driving all our actions? To get a handle on this, let's look at a really concrete example, desire. Now, the way Russell reframes this is totally counterintuitive, but once you get it, wow, it's powerful. Okay, so normally we think of desire as a pull, right? The thought of a delicious pizza pulls you towards the kitchen. But Russell just flips that whole idea on its head. He says desire is a push. It doesn't start with some future goal. It starts with a feeling of discomfort you have right now, like hunger pangs, and that feeling pushes you into action. This state of being pushed around by discomfort is what Russell calls a behavior cycle. A hungry lion paces back and forth, restlessly searching. That cycle only ends when it finds something that stops the discomfort, in this case, food. And here's the kicker. This means the purpose of our desire isn't something we know from the start. We only discover what we wanted when we finally feel satisfied, or what he calls quiescence. This completely demystifies the whole idea of unconscious desire. Forget about some deep, dark Freudian monster lurking in your psyche. For Russell, that restless, pushing state is the default. It's the natural, primitive form of desire. It only becomes conscious desire when we finally put a label on it, when we actually form the thought and say, oh, right, I'm hungry. Okay, but hold on. This raises a massive question. If the mind isn't a container, where do our memories live? How can something that happened years ago affect us right now if it isn't stored somewhere? Russell's answer is this really strange but fascinating concept he calls mnemic causation. This is a big one, so let's break it down. Normally, we think of cause and effect as happening right here, right now. But mimetic causation suggests that a past event, combined with a present trigger, can directly cause a reaction today. The memory doesn't have to be physically stored in some file in your brain. The past event itself is an active part of what's causing your reaction. It's wild. So here's the basic recipe for how it works. Step 1, you have some big, complex experience. We'll call that stimulus A, and it causes a complex reaction in you, reaction B. Step 2, sometime later, you encounter just a small piece of that original experience. What happens? Step 3, that tiny piece can trigger the entire original reaction all over again. Let's make that real. Say you once had this amazing vacation in Scotland. The beautiful scenery, the people you were with, the specific smell of peat smoke in the air, that's your complex stimulus. Years later, you're somewhere else entirely, and you smell peat smoke. That one single part of the original stimulus is enough to bring the entire memory, the entire feeling flooding back. For anyone else standing next to you, that smell means nothing. But for you, the cause of your memory is the present smell plus that past event working together. So we've gotten rid of the I. We've thrown out the idea of the mind as a storage container. What on earth is left? Well, this brings us to Russell's most radical, most mind-bending idea of all, his solution to the ancient mind-body problem. Russell puts forward this theory called neutral monism. He says, forget about this old division between a mental world and a physical world, the ghost in the machine. Instead, he suggests that the entire universe is made of just one kind of fundamental stuff. And that stuff isn't, by its nature, either mental or physical. It's just neutral. So how does that even work? Okay, imagine all of reality is made of little bits, like Lego bricks. Russell says you can sort those bricks in two different ways. If you gather together all the different views and appearances of one single thing, say a chair, as seen from every possible angle, you've grouped them together to form a piece of matter. But if you gather all the different things that can be seen from one single viewpoint, a chair, a table, a lamp, the floor, you've just described a perspective. And for Russell, that's what a mind is. Mind and matter aren't different things. They're just different ways of arranging the exact same stuff. So what is this neutral stuff? What are these fundamental building blocks of reality? Russell argues that it all boils down to two things that we can actually experience directly: sensations and images. Now, the key difference between a sensation and an image isn't how vivid or real it feels. For Russell, it's all about the cause. As you can see here, a sensation is caused by an external object stimulating your sense organs, like light from a chair hitting your eyes. It follows physical laws. An image, on the other hand, is caused internally by mnemic causation. It's you remembering the chair. That memory is only governed by the psychological laws of association. All right, let's put all of these pieces back together. After tearing everything down, what new definition of a mind do we end up with? So here's the final picture. A mind is not a thing. It's more like a biography. It's the collection of all the events, all the sensations and images that are grouped together from your unique perspective. It's a stream of experiences all connected by the laws of memory that constitutes your particular point of view on the universe. And this brings us right back to where we started. In this new model, that grand, mysterious thing we call consciousness gets a serious demotion. It's no longer the center of the mental universe. It turns out to be just a label we use, a habit of our language, not some fundamental property of reality. So Russell's whole analysis leaves us with this pretty profound and maybe even a little unsettling final thought. If your mind isn't a thing you have, but is simply the stream of experiences seen from one perspective, and if the I is just a grammatical fiction, what does that make the you that you've always taken for granted? Where does that leave you?